Tonight, a serious crash and an underage driver.
The ages that we're talking about, no party would be licensed to drive.
An overnight ride
causing some significant injuries to all parties involved.
Gone horribly wrong. Testifying in his own defense, what the man accused of murder in a triple stabbing in Kitchener told a courtroom today. An uptown Waterloo landmark disappearing.
It seems that the developer wants to overdevelop the property. I don't want to be a victim of somebody else's commercial decision.
A new horizon for yet another corner of a fast-growing skyline. Good evening. We begin in North Dumfries, where a late-night drive took a dangerous turn. 4 Cambridge teenagers, all under the age of 16, were seriously injured after the vehicle they were in crashed into a pole on Clyde Road just after midnight. Police still trying to piece together just what happened. With more on this, let's go to CTV's Alexandra Hollick, joining us now live. Alexandra, police telling us the driver was only 15 years old?
That's right, Tony, and it's not clear why she got behind the wheel or how she got the vehicle in the first place. Police say it's all part of an ongoing investigation. Wheels up at the edge of a North Dumfries driveway. Remnants of an early morning crash that seriously injured 4 Cambridge teenagers.
The ages of the youth are under the age of 16, so 15 and 14 years of age.
Police say the driver, a 15-year-old girl, lost control and hit a hydro pole on Clyde Road near Clydebank Drive,
causing some significant injuries to all parties involved, as well as caused a power outage in the area for an extended period of time.
The driver and 3 passengers, including 2 boys and 1 girl, were transported to an out-of-region trauma center, leaving police to try to piece together what happened.
We're looking at all aspects of the investigation, from obviously the cause all the way through to what's happened at the scene there.
Police say they'll look at factors like speed and possible impairment. At this point, it's not clear how the teens got a hold of the car.
The ages that we're talking about, no party would be licensed to drive.
Raising questions about possible charges.
On the ability to drive side, we look at not having a license as an offense. Certainly when you're endangering other members of the public or endangering people in your vehicle by your driving behavior, those are certainly criminal code aspects.
While power in the area has been restored, police say the investigation is ongoing.
I will ask that anybody who may have been a witness to this event or has knowledge of the event to give us a call.
The Waterloo Catholic District School Board confirmed to CTV News that 2 of the passengers were students in the board. A spokesperson says neither is in serious condition, though staff and on-site social workers are offering support to those who need it. Tony?
Alexandra Hollick on that crash in North Dumfries. Alexandra, thank you. 2 people were killed in a crash in Woolwich yesterday. And as CTV's Hannah Schmidt tells us tonight, a local dentist who once worked as a paramedic was among the first on scene, rushing in to try to help.
Between that pole is where the accident happened.
What started as an ordinary Sunday afternoon turned tragic on a busy stretch of rural road in Woolwich Township.
I heard what sounded to me like a multiple vehicle collision right here. I couldn't see the whole thing because my tractor shed partially blocked the view. But I saw what looked like a very serious collision.
Emergency crews were called just after 3 p.m. when a maroon motorcycle and a silver sedan collided on Northfield Drive East in West Montrose.
Volunteer firefighters were there rapidly, and Regional Waterloo paramedics were there, I'm going to say, within 3 or 4 minutes.
The driver and passenger of the motorcycle, a 59-year-old man and a 53-year-old woman, both from Kitchener, were pronounced dead at the scene. The 61-year-old driver of the sedan, a woman from Waterloo, was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Just across a nearby field, Dr. Mark Perry was working in his barn when he heard the crash.
There was 2 people who were obviously motorcycle motorists on the ground.
Before becoming a dentist, Perry spent years working as a part-time paramedic in York Region, training that kicked in instantly.
I was able to determine the extent of injury within a reasonably rapid amount of time, extent of injuries of both patients.
He performed CPR on the male victim while another passerby helped the woman.
I was asking her questions and we were both assessing her because she was at the time, she was breathing when we arrived.
Perry says the tragedy was a powerful reminder of how quickly neighbors and strangers can unite in a moment of crisis.
They were more than willing and more than I had seen in my experience in this field before. So that's the positive side, we could say. These were Region of Waterloo citizens who were ready to help at any moment.
Police are continuing to investigate and are looking to speak with the driver of a white sedan who may have witnessed the collision. As the community mourns 2 lives lost, investigators say cooperation from the public could help give the families some answers. Hannah Schmidt, CTV News, West Montrose.
All right, let's switch gears now and take our first look at the forecast. Alex Pinto joining us outside on a very beautiful patio for the 6th of October. Alex, I know I sound like a broken record, but I am not complaining about this.
I know. I think many of us, we got a little rinse and repeat going.
Yeah.
We're talking about, that summer-like weather that has been sticking with us. And I know, again, we've been using that term for days and days, but that's how it's been. And we've definitely been above seasonal. That said, though, a little bit of rain could be on the way, and we are expected to get 2 more seasonal conditions, which we'll get into a little bit later. But right now, we're seeing mainly clear conditions, just a couple of clouds in the sky out there as we take a look at our satellite and radar map. But to your point, Tony, a nice patio day evening, so you might want to have dinner outside maybe and really take advantage of the warmer weather we've been seeing. But in terms of current temperatures, many of us sitting into the mid-upper 20 range, which again is definitely above seasonal for this time of year, but we'll let you know when a cool down is expected and when we could see some wet weather, which we also desperately need at this point. Tony.
We certainly do. Okay, Alex, talk to you shortly. Thank you. A warning, this next story has graphic details that may be disturbing. A man on trial for murder relating to a triple stabbing in Kitchener took the stand today in his own defense. He testified that he was trying to protect himself. CTV Spencer Turcott reports.
A man dressed in a baggy white shirt and gray track pants walked slowly to the front of a Kitchener courtroom this morning, his ankles shackled as an officer escorted him to the witness stand. He introduced himself to the courtroom as 34-year-old Dylan Morera. He's on trial for second-degree murder and multiple counts of attempted murder and aggravated assault for allegedly killing his girlfriend and seriously injuring his girlfriend's daughter and his own mother in a stabbing spree. Morera's defense lawyer, Stephen Gale, asked Morera about his ongoing mental health struggles. Morera told court about the long list of medications he takes in order to manage his symptoms. He testified that he began hearing voices in his head around 2016 or 2017. People that I know, Morera told court, mostly my brother, my dad, both of whom died unexpectedly. Morera said the voices were telling him that I shouldn't trust anybody. On the day of the stabbings in November 2022, Morera testified that he and his girlfriend snorted crystal meth. He told court that same day he found a virus on his computer and believed his girlfriend's son caused it. Morera testified he was upset, and when he brought it up to his girlfriend, she denied it was her son's fault. Morera said he heard his brother's voice in his head say everybody was lying to me and not to trust her. Morera testified the argument escalated, and when he walked away, I felt something hit me in the back of the head. At that point, Morera said he did not know he had been stabbed. He testified he didn't realize until I seen her stab my dog. That dog later died, court heard. Morera testified that a struggle ensued as he tried to get a knife from his girlfriend. He said he was wounded several times in the process but was successful in getting the knife. Then I stabbed her. The voices were telling me to protect myself. He testified he doesn't recall stabbing his mother or girlfriend's daughter, but he did not deny that he did it. He told court the next thing he remembered is police waking him up and telling them that his girlfriend stabbed him first and that they were going to kill me. During cross-examination, Crown Prosecutor Thomas Mack read from the transcript of a conversation between Morera and a detective, where Morera asked how he got the injuries on his head and whether he fell downstairs at his home. The Crown suggests Moreira does not remember ever being stabbed by his girlfriend and that his answers in court today did not line up with the timeline of events he previously told police. Max suggested Moreira snapped and that his intention was to kill his girlfriend because he stabbed her 21 times. Moreira denies that was his intention. The trial is adjourned until tomorrow morning. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News Kitchener.
Well, the Premier is threatening to pull some of the most popular liquor brands off the store shelves at the LCBO, all over plans by an international manufacturer to close a bottling plant here in Ontario. With more on that, here's CTV's Siobhan Morris.
Some booze-run staples may disappear from the LCBO in a matter of months. It's the latest round in a standoff between Doug Ford and Diageo, the owner of brands like Bailey's, Captain Morgan's, Guinness, and Crown Royal.
This is what I think about Crown Royal. That's what they could do.
The Premier's pour out last month over a planned closure of a Crown bottling plant in Amherstburg outside Windsor. The work shifting to the U.S., costing about 200 Canadians their jobs.
We're pulling Crown Royal off our shelves as soon as the last person leaves that plant. And then we'll look at Smirnoff's next.
The biggest selling vodka brand in the country. Ford brushing off any potential hit to the LCBO's bottom line or any further job losses for Diageo.
We do over $765 million, more than any jurisdiction anywhere in the U.S. or in Canada. And they want to close down a plant over what, $8 million of wages they think they're going to save?
There is worry amongst Canadian farmers who raise the rye for Crown, and there are plants in Manitoba and Quebec. Ford emphasizes the LCBO is one of the biggest buyers of booze in the world.
And I'll use that leverage to make sure we send a signal.
Outside this Toronto LCBO, there is some toasting to that idea.
I know they're upset about losing the jobs in Windsor, so if that's a way of addressing that and trying to protest it a little bit, then sure, I'd support it.
But there are more calls to give this a sober second thought.
It's Canadian. Keep it on the shelves.
This is getting beyond ridiculous now.
I would think that it's probably better to just wait and see what sort of end of negotiations are in with the company.
The opposition says the hit to other provinces needs to be considered to keep the United Canadian Front intact.
I'd like to see less of these stunts and actually more work. What has he actually done to try to address the closure of the Amherstburg plant since he started pouring out the Crown Royal?
The Amherstburg plant is scheduled to close by February.
And that was CTV's Siobhan Morris with that report. Working harder to understand a complex condition. Coming up, CTV's Ashley Bacon visits a social service agency dedicated to helping those living with cerebral palsy, with the mission, a diagnosis does not have to define someone.
I'm Krista Simpson. We're getting an early look at a development at the current site of a Waterloo funeral home. What's being proposed and what people in the area have to say, that story is just ahead.
Well, comfortable conditions for your Monday evening, but some rain could be on the way. I'll break it down in your full forecast coming up a little bit later.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We go to a dramatic scene unfolding.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVKitchener.ca, your home for news.
Waterloo Region's skyline keeps changing, and a developer wants to continue that by putting up high-rise towers where a funeral home now stands on the outskirts of uptown Waterloo. Let's go to CTV's Krista Simpson live with more on a public meeting that's just been happening in the past couple of hours on this project. Krista.
Well, Tony, this was a first look at the proposal for council and the public for the property that is currently home to the Herb and Good Funeral Home. No decisions were made today, but rather this was about gathering information, a chance for councillors to ask questions, and the public to share their initial thoughts.
The current site of Herb and Good Funeral Home for nearly 80 years could look very different in the future. Vanmar Developments is proposing 2 towers of residential units, one 37 stories and the other 33 stories that share a podium. In those towers, there would be a total of 834 dwelling units, all with 1 or 2 bedrooms, though that could change.
We've proposed 1 and 2 for now. There is an opportunity always to do 3 bedrooms.
The buildings will also include commercial and amenity spaces. The plan is for a heritage building on the site, the Kuntz Labatt House, to be moved and likely turned into a restaurant, though that too is not set in stone.
Purchased in the early days, we just really saw it as it was kind of like this would be a perfect spot for a really great restaurant.
The plan as it stands will require amendments to the zoning bylaw to add density, height, and cut back on the amount of bicycle parking, which the developer says is underutilized in other buildings it has done. Nearby residents raising concerns about the size of the building, a lack of green space for the broader community, and questions about whether there's really a need for this type of housing in Waterloo in the near future.
It seems that the developer wants to overdevelop the property because perhaps they paid a high price for the property. I don't want to be a victim of somebody else's commercial decision.
I could accept this proposal if it actually provided housing that addresses the current critical housing needs in the region, and we all know what those are. Space for multi-member families, downsizing seniors, young people trying to get a foothold into the real estate market.
The feedback will now be considered going forward.
Staff will review the issues and provide further reporting to Council at a later date.
For now, the Urban Good Funeral Home remains operational. The owner's saying its departure is not imminent at this time. It will eventually move, though, to a new home on Victoria Street North in Kitchener. Tony.
Krista Simpson live with that update. Thank you, Krista. A diagnosis does not define a person. That's the message Sunbeam Community and Development Services is spreading on this World Cerebral Palsy Day. With some insight into how their team and families support local people living with the movement disorder, here's CTV's Ashley Bacon.
A day in the life of 19-year-old Sean can be complex.
He's a sweet little boy, and he's very sociable, and he likes to interact with people.
Sean was diagnosed with cerebral palsy as an infant.
Sean came to the Sunbeam Center at 2.5, and they opened the doors with loving arms here for him. He has a lot of needs, and it can be very challenging and very stressful at times, and his health has been ever-changing throughout the years.
The team at Sunbeam's hospital care program work with clients like Sean, ensuring his life is lived to the fullest.
Behind the diagnosis is a whole person who has the right to be here, who has the right to be disabled, and that not need to be fixed because they're not broken.
Celebrating World Cerebral Palsy Day as a way to end stigmas, raise awareness, and spread a message of inclusion.
Many people think that we're here to help them only, but the truth is we learn so much from them. We are experiencing life through the eyes of people that don't do things the way we do things. And yet they thrive, they go to school, they smile, they, make their families proud.
For Sean and his family, the hospital program that Sunbeam offers is particularly important to the quality of his life.
Sometimes hospital stays are anywhere from a few days to weeks to even months. Sunbeam will come and help relieve us when we're in the hospital.
The people that we support go to the hospital, always accompanied by staff who knows them, who can advocate on their behalf, who can express the medical team at the hospital. How do they experience pain? How do they tell you that they're uncomfortable?
Keeping the conversation going with the message that diagnosis doesn't define the person.
He's still a person and likes to be treated like other people do.
Ashley Bacon, CTV News, Kitchener.
A live look outside now at Waterloo Public Square in Uptown Waterloo. You can see the sunset reflecting off those buildings in Uptown. It is another stunning sunset this evening for the 6th of October. Shorts and t-shirts everywhere. We will take it. But Alex is going to step back in just a couple of moments and let us know about some decidedly more fall-like conditions that are on the way later this week. Also ahead, what really goes into pouring a cold one? We're going to visit a local brewing cooperative coming up later on this week's edition of Made Right Here. And it is harvest time. We're going to find out what's on offer at Strom's Farm and Bakery in Guelph with Alex coming up next. All right, Alex is back with our forecast. Second week of October, feeling like the third week of July.
Middle of summer.
Somewhere roundabout there. But, you know, all good things must come to an end, is what they say.
Yes.
And it's going to feel like fall this week.
Yeah, it's definitely going to feel more seasonal. And so good news, because I'm definitely actually, you know, really looking forward to a little bit of some cooler weather, some sweater weather. But we got to get through a little bit of wet weather potentially before we can see those conditions. So even taking a live look outside this evening, we are enjoying another summer-like evening. Like we're standing on the patio, it felt like, you know, I'm like, I could probably have dinner on the patio tonight.
Those patios are full.
Oh, they're busy and good for business, right? Taking advantage of that. But good news if you're a fan of summer-like weather. Not so good news, maybe if you, you've got a farmer's field or a garden that you really need watering. But the good news, a little bit of wet weather is expected to be on the way, and very quickly too. As soon as overnight tonight. That's what we can expect to see when we start with our futurecast for this evening. So 40% chance of showers is what we're seeing getting into the overnight with a risk of a thunderstorm. And we potentially could see quite a bit of wet weather right across southern southwestern Ontario if we pause it here. So even by tomorrow morning around 7 o'clock or so, if you are though going to be a little bit further north, so Barrie, Orillia, or Toronto, the GTHA, potentially a little bit more of a chance for more thunderstorm activity there compared to what we might see here in Kitchener-Waterloo. But rain potentially heavy at times too as we get into your Tuesday afternoon. After dinner though, that's when it should clear and we could see a little bit more cloud cover start to roll in before we could see some clearing conditions. But then starting on Wednesday, for a few days, that sunshine is expected to make a comeback and for several days. So just to compare what we're seeing in terms of conditions across the province. So for us here in Kitchener-Waterloo, southern southwestern Ontario, again, we're feeling like we are in the upper 20s with that humidex. North, if you're in Timmins, Moosonee, 11, 12 degrees. So quite a big difference there. For us, 28 degrees was our expected daytime high. We did not hit that at this point. 26 is where we got to about, and we are starting to dip down. So again, 25 is what we're seeing here in Kitchener-Waterloo in particular. Also 25 it is in Hamilton, but with that humidex at one point today feeling closer to 30. So if you were outside, especially in that direct sunlight, you would have felt that heat. So overnight 18 degrees, that is what we are expected to dip down to. Partly cloudy conditions, and again 40% chance of showers with that risk of a thunderstorm. And that risk of a thunderstorm expected to stick with us as we get into tomorrow as well in the morning and afternoon. But showers for the most part should just really notice it more so the first half of the day as we get to our high of 20 degrees, or expected high rather. So definitely above seasonal for this time of year. Normal is 15 degrees or so. Record high 31 that was set back on this day 1946, and we saw an overnight record low of minus 3.1 on this day in 2003. And a big talk about too that sunrise sunset, really noticing the days getting shorter. So that sun now setting at 6:55 p.m. Feels like the last couple of weeks especially we've noticed that sun setting earlier and earlier. So again, once we get past the chance for a bit of wet weather, Wednesday right through Friday, we should be sitting more seasonal, but take a look at those overnight lows, 0 degrees, so close to that freezing mark is expected. We're going to notice a bit more of that chill, especially early in the morning hours as well. For Lambton, Kent, and Essex, 60% chance of showers for you with a risk of a thunderstorm. High of 20 expected for tomorrow before another sunny stretch is in store. And southern Georgian Bay, again, some showers expected for tomorrow before that sun is expected to make a return for your Wednesday with a high of just 13 degrees and overnight low of 0. And here's tonight's weather. Watch your picture. This is a sight you often don't see together, a skeleton in the sand. This was sent to us by Ashley Clark, who says their family was in Port Elgin over the weekend enjoying Pumpkin Fest and visiting a family member's cottage. She says there's nothing scary about this weather with her little one there making a friend in the sand there. I just thought this was so, so cute. And yeah, when we think of October, we're getting into Halloween season. Doesn't really mix with summer-like conditions.
It's adorable. I mean, a lot of people in Ontario live on the beach, but yeah, you don't typically associate hanging out in the heat on the beach.
I love that one, though.
With pre-Halloween. That was a cute one, yeah. Well, it's been feeling a lot more like summer, and local farms certainly getting ready. Did I just make up a word?
It's Monday, it's okay.
They're getting ready for harvest season, which of course is underway right now.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite times of the year, especially when you can get out to the local farms out there. So from pumpkins to corn mazes, we had a chance to visit Strom's Farm and Bakery in Guelph to check out what you can expect to see there this season. Well, we are talking all fall harvest fun, and we are here at Strom's Farm and Bakery with Amy. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
So this place, no shortage of entertainment, things to do. You know, it's not just pumpkins. There's lots going on. I want to ask what people can expect to see this year and this season.
Okay, so on weekends, the area we're in right now, we have our new pumpkin house that we added this year, Bubble Barn. We have our corn maze. With this year, our charity that we focus on is Nutrition for Learning and keeping kids fed at school. So they can learn all about that in the corn maze, as well as 50 cents of your weekend admission price goes to those two charities this year. We have wagon rides, puppet shows, campfires.
Okay, Amy and I are now standing right in the middle of thousands and thousands of course, pumpkins. This is, of course, one of the many items that we think of when we think of fall harvest. And yeah, we're saying thousands, but how many, and these are grown by you guys, yes. How many are here with us today?
So we grow 20 acres of pumpkins with 24 different varieties. So where we're standing now is what you think of Halloween, your jack-o'-lantern, your orange pumpkin. And then you'll also find we grow the whites, the blues, the pink, the red, kind of what you call specialty pumpkins. And we also do pie pumpkins. All pumpkins are good to eat, but we find there's different ones. If you're looking to make a pie pumpkin is better than what you would carve for Halloween.
Did I just see butter tarts there?
They're incredible.
Oh.
I was just going to say, if you haven't tried their baked goods, butter tarts, cookies, we did sample a few. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yeah, those pastries looked next level.
Yeah, they were so good. And of course, if you missed that during CTV News at 5, the full segment online, ctvnewskitchener.ca. It's fun to kind of get into the fall festive spirit.
Tasty too. Okay, Alex, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you later in the show. Ontario's opposition calling for change after a CTV News story last week that showed hundreds of thousands of Highway Traffic Act charges in the last year never made it to trial. As CTV's John Woodward tells us, the NDP says letting that many people go unpunished amounts to lawlessness.
That white SUV is running a stop sign on Shaw Street in Toronto straight into the path of a cyclist. The cyclist survived, the driver was charged, but months later those charges were dropped.
The simple slap on the wrist of the Highway Traffic Act ticket and penalty is not even administered.
Part of a pattern that CTV News and W5 reported on last week. Among some 250,000 Highway Traffic Act charges dropped before trial.
Ontario's justice system is failing its basic promises of fairness, timeliness, and public safety.
Today, NDP Justice critic Kristen Wong-Tam highlighted higher rates when you include those charges withdrawn at trial. Nearly 9,000 careless driving charges, almost a third of the total laid. 9,300 driving while suspended charges, again almost a third. And 5,500 stunt driving charges withdrawn, or around 4 in 10. Put together, that's 338,000 charges that never see the light of day, more than 1 in 10.
If there are no consequences to offenses, there are no consequences to crimes committed, then we become a land of lawlessness.
Wong-Tam calling for better funding of the justice system, a prosecutors' union saying they need more people to do the work.
Local 79 sees there being a staffing crisis in the prosecutor's office.
The Ford government pointing to roadside suspensions that police can lay directly. The governing PCs are also looking to remove automated speed cameras years after they passed laws allowing them.
I was really badly hurt. I had multiple fractures to my pelvis.
Anna Pratt was hit on her bike in 2022. The charges there were dropped.
I really was beyond disappointed. I was upset. I was angry. And I really felt that I had been completely ignored by the system.
A system that in hundreds of thousands of cases lets drivers who do things like this go unpunished. John Woodward, CTV News.
The party's over for a Kitchener business. But coming up, CTV's Karis Map tells us why the end of one chapter may be the start of another very important one.
Bounce 99.5 has the music you just can't quit. Home of Bounce Mornings with Angie Hill and Sarge. KW's Bounce 99.5. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app.
A popular party store in Kitchener is closing after almost half a decade in business. The owners of Victoria Party City are getting ready to retire. And as CTV's Karis Map tells us, they say vacating the space will help to fill a bigger need in the community.
A staple for celebration supplies in Kitchener is set to close its doors for good in 2 weeks. Victoria Party Store is going out with one last blowout sale.
So the big sign of 50% off, and I always wanted to drop by just to check it out.
The owners, a husband and wife duo, say they're ready to retire. Not an easy decision given the building's party history and ownership legacy.
The guy who used to own, he shut down his store. I wanted to buy it from him, but he did not want to sell it to anyone. So I got it from the landlord as a container, and I reopened within a month, and I'm here for almost 18.5 years now.
Continuing the tradition as a one-stop shop for all kinds of festive fixings.
I like how they have all the party supplies here, like everything from rental stuff to like glassware to dinnerware to costumes, Christmas, everything.
Customers now have to find a new place to shop.
It was very hard for them to accept because this store, including the previous owner and myself, is almost over 47, 48 years old store.
My cousins, they live over on Edna, and we always had sleepovers there. So like ever since then, this place has been open, and it's just been a location stamp.
The Patels say they hope the space will continue to serve the community with a walk-in clinic set to move in.
We need doctors. All of our people in our KW region or neighborhood cities, they don't have family doctors.
New owners hope to have the clinic operational by early 2026, making it a bittersweet goodbye for the current co-owners.
If business is not doing good, and if you sell a business or close the business, is something else. But this business had no issues. It's just our time, right time, to move on.
A tearful farewell, but the pair say they look forward to more quality time together.
We own a plaza right now just because of him and his support.
See the foundation. And
just because of his support.
He's like his mind, my body, both work together.
The store closes to customers on October 18th, with all final operations wrapping up the following day. Everything must go, but the Patels say any remaining inventory may be sold online or donated. Karis Map, CTV News, Kitchener.
All right, Karis, thank you for that. Leanne Evans in studio with us with a look at our top stories. Leanne, we start with that crash in the North Dumfries area. 4 Cambridge teens seriously injured.
And they were all under the age of 16, Tony. It happened just after midnight. Investigators say the 15-year-old driver lost control of the vehicle and hit a pole on Clyde Road. 3 passengers were taken to an out-of-region trauma center. Police are looking into why the girl was behind the wheel and how she got the vehicle. 2 people were killed in a crash in Woolwich Township Sunday afternoon. A motorcycle and sedan collided on Northfield Drive East around 3 p.m. One of the first people on scene trying to help was a local dentist who spent years working as a paramedic and says training kicked in instantly. He performed CPR on the male victim while another passerby helped the woman. Police are continuing to investigate and are looking to speak with the driver of a white sedan who may have witnessed the collision.
And Leanne, on our website, details about another collision that happened recently. In this case, a 25-year-old man facing charges.
Yeah, it's related to a hit-and-run collision on Fisher Hallman and Greenbrook Drive in Kitchener, happening late Friday night. Not many details from police, but a neighbor says a boat and trailer smashed into a home. You can get a look at that photo and what happened. More details on the charges laid by going to our website, scan the QR code, download the CTV News app, or go to ctvnewskitchener.ca. Tony.
Leanne Evans with our top stories. Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
From light to dark, mild or hoppy, Together We're Bitter is their name. They're a brewing cooperative that keeps 8 taps flowing with a variety of beer. Tonight, we take a look at what it takes to go from grain and water to superior suds on this week's edition of Made Right Here.
Hi, I'm Peter Collins. I'm head brewer and one of the worker owners at Together We're Bitter Cooperative Brewing. We're a worker-owned cooperative brewery and tasting room in Kitchener, Ontario. So we start our brewing process at the beginning of the day with our crushed grain, most often barley, but sometimes we're using wheat, oats, sometimes rye. All that crushed grain mixed with hot water to make a mash. We let that sit for 45 minutes. At the end of that 45 minutes, those starches are broken down into simpler sugars, and that liquid becomes wort. We transfer that wort into the boil kettle while also adding more water to the mash tun. Once we get to the boil kettle, we dig out the spent grain, and that goes to a local farmer to supplement his cattle feed. That boil kettle then boils for an hour to 90 minutes, depending on the brand. At that point and during the boil, we're adding hops. At the end of that boil, then we're going to transfer that hot wort through a plate chiller to cool it down to room temperature to transfer it into the fermenter. At that point in the fermenter, we're adding the yeast. The yeast then actually makes that wort beer. That will ferment out for anywhere from about 2 weeks to 6 weeks, depending on ale versus lager. At the end of that time, then we'll cool the beer to help drop out some of the solids. We'll transfer that beer into the bright tank. We'll reintroduce some carbon dioxide for carbonation into the beer. And then at that point, then we will package either to kegs, cans, or to one of our serving tanks. And then it's ready for consumption. We have a wide variety of beers here. As head brewer, one of the things I try to do is keep our 8 taps filled with a variety of beers, from the lightest beers to the darkest beers, from low ABV beers to higher ABV beers, from malty beers to bitter beers and hoppier beers. So a good wide variety. I don't like to be boastful, but people really, really love the beer. We get a lot of positive feedback. Our Google reviews often mention the tasting room and the vibe, but almost always comment on the quality of the beer and how good it is. I try as head brewer to produce obviously not only good beer, but consistently good beer. Just try and keep the quality and the repeatability of it. I love that they like the beer, and that's great. That keeps me going day to day for sure. And keeping people happy, one beer at a time.
Canadian rugby in the spotlight. Coming up next, Jeff Pickle meets 2 Guelph-based stars who've done great things beyond our borders. It's been just over a week since Canada's women's rugby team came in second at the Women's World Cup of Rugby, launching players and the sport into the spotlight. Now 2 players are back at the University of Guelph. One a player, the other a coach, looking to add a championship to their year. CTV's Jeff Pickle reports.
Cup final 2025 from Twickenham in London.
From the height of the rugby world
Asia Hogan Rochester
to practice at Varsity Field at the University of Guelph. It's a very different atmosphere, and for Team Canada teammates Taylor McKnight and Brittany Castle, the teammate dynamic has shifted as well.
Taylor's always been so easy to coach.
With Rugby Canada rookie Taylor McKnight playing for the University of Guelph Griffins and U of G alumni Brittany Castle an assistant coach.
I always know that I have like a support system, even though like she's technically my teammate. I can always ask questions.
Despite a major difference in height and experience, they share a passion for the game.
It's just really nice to be able to show your personality and be able to be aggressive and just be really like honored in that place.
For McKnight, the youngest member of Team Canada, the World Cup was a chance to learn from the very best.
All the facilities we played at were great, and I've never been overseas to Europe to play before, so that was super cool as well.
With professional opportunities in Europe becoming more frequent in women's rugby, McKnight says she has some decisions to make as she wraps up her final year of university.
I would be excited to kind of see how that takes me and how long I could pursue that, but at the same time, I know I have that academic background. If I wanted to come back to Canada and pursue a career in anything in the medical field, I could if I wanted to.
Canada showing at the World Cup helping the game grow with an assist from the Prime Minister and another Canadian icon.
You've officially made me, Shania Twain, a rugby fan.
Castle says Canadian rugby is ready to take a major leap.
Even just hearing all the little like schoolboys and schoolgirls get excited, having watch parties, watching the semifinal and watching the final.
Both players excited for the future of the game in a sport that has a way of finding its players rather than players finding it.
When I played hockey growing up, there was no contact, right? In soccer, I got told, like, keep your elbows down, don't do this, don't do that. Like, you're too aggressive, right? So we were kind of put in this box as young girls and we're told not to do a certain thing or, like, be a certain way. And with rugby, I was praised for all those things.
This time, though, Brittany Castle scores.
Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Guelph.
And of course, there's lots of excitement about the Jays, too. We'll talk about that later. First, let's check in with Alex.
Well, chance for some wet weather as we get into your overnight and early morning hours. I'll let you know how cool it could be in Wake Up Weather coming up after the break. Here's a look at your Monday night lineup at 7 o'clock. Stick around for E-Talk before The Big Bang Theory. Then at 8, it's The Voice before The Weakest Link, airing at 10.
5K a day is back on 105.3
Virgin Radio.
Listen to Jeff, KP, and Backstage Ben for your chance to win $5,000
Every weekday.
5K a day.
Virgin Radio.
Okay, just about ready to drive this one home in a few minutes, but let's check in with Leanne Evans now for a look at some stories we'll have later tonight. Leanne.
Tony, from priorities to projects, the mayor of Centre Wellington is holding a town hall meeting tonight in Elora. CTV's Colton Weens is there to find out what's on residents' minds. Also, the Guelph Humane Society is fighting to save the lives of 7 dogs who've been exposed to parovirus, which can be deadly. Officials say 11 small puppies were actually brought to the shelter last week. They were dehydrated and suffering. 4 of them, unfortunately, did not make it. So we'll have more on the road to recovery for those 7 puppies and how other people can help out, Tony.
Okay, Leanne, thank you so much. Yeah, we don't say enough about the great work that the folks at the Humane Society chapters do locally, so we'll update you on that story later. And it's been a great story weather-wise until now, but reality's setting in, right?
Yes, and it's okay. Well, you know what? Our gardens, grass, the farmer fields need the rain that is expected to be on the way by 6 a.m. Again, we're expected to see those heavier showers overnight. That risk of a thunderstorm sticking with us as we start off the day as well. And by 10, that risk of a thunderstorm should ease off. Just cloudy with a little bit of wet weather is expected, but by dinner time tomorrow or so, conditions again should clear up once again for that sunny stretch we are expected to see over the next several days after that.
We had to get the rain sooner or later.
Yes.
We do need to see it. Finally for us tonight, it's a good thing the rain didn't happen yesterday.
Yes.
The Toronto Blue Jays have arrived in New York City right now, all set to take on the Yankees in what could be the 3rd and final game of their American League Division Series.
Yeah, so fans are stoked after a weekend of stellar baseball. CTV's Allison Hurst has more on the games that gave the Jays a commanding series lead.
A moment in Blue Jays franchise history. Caught in the stands by Brendan Craig, barehanded, overhead, in the second deck.
Instincts took over, and I played ball my whole life, so all those years of practicing and playing, they finally paid off.
Craig and his wife bought their tickets on Facebook Marketplace to catch the game.
Funny enough, the person who I bought the tickets off, his pitch to sell them was good spot for a Vladdy bomb.
The seats lived up to the promise, made sweeter by it also being the first Grand Slam in postseason franchise history. But the history-making didn't stop there.
6 Ks through 2 2/3.
Rookie pitcher Trey Yesavage took the mound in his first ever postseason start.
He's built for this game. It's awesome.
Setting a franchise record 11 strikeouts in a no-hit postseason game, and he did it in just 5 innings.
What a nice young man that very pleased the way he's handling the situation.
Yesavage felt the support at the mound.
The energy and the passion that this fan base has, and all 44,000 people that were here tonight, it's special.
With the way the entire team played this weekend,
Now Varsho drills one.
fans are feeling pretty confident heading to the Bronx.
3-0 and keep going up to the World Series.
The team is so good this year. I think they're gonna go just up till they win.
Optimistic but not cocky. So I think we can get this series, but it's one game at a time.
Craig will be watching, Grand Slam ball in hand, But what he's going to do with it?
I don't really know, don't have a plan yet. If they're interested in it, I'd be happy to talk with them and get it back because it's a pretty historic ball.
In an historic series that's not over yet.
So that's the guy who caught it.
Don't lose that ever.
Don't hold on to that one. Yeah, this is quite a run. I was lucky enough to be at the game yesterday, so I saw that ball sail into the crowd, but never knew who caught it. And I did capture a few moments I wanted to share with you, though, because it was just what a day. I mean, this was the Ernie Clement homer, so this was a little earlier on in the game, and I mean that was exciting enough when that happened because the Jays were, you know, ahead by a few runs at that point. It was still early, but then that
energy.
Oh yeah, this was the Vladdy grand slam, and that's when they went up 9-0, and the place was just going wild. It was just the energy, and I think almost everyone I knew was there. Well, not quite, but I ran into a couple of friends of mine.
People.
Yeah, it was a good time. That's my friend Matt. He came up from Belleville, made the last-minute trip down to see the game. My friend Ryan from here in Waterloo was there. So it was a bit of a reunion, but also just taking in what felt like a historic moment. It was the first time, Alex, that they ever had the Dome open for a playoff game all weekend long.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, it happened before 1989, before the Dome actually opened. But first time since the Dome opened that the roof was open for a playoff game. Felt like July. Boy, the energy was great. But I'll tell you something. They were ahead at one point 12-0, and then it felt very different when the Yankees suddenly got to within, 6 or 7 runs, and the gap was being closed a little bit.
Shifting that energy a little bit.
Yes, but they got the win they needed, and tomorrow night they can advance.
And you're part of history there.
Well, I think so. I would like to think so. Yeah, it was a great moment. It was a last-minute decision on my part, too.
Worth it.
Now I got to figure out how to pay for that ticket yesterday. We'll see you at 11:30. Have a good night.
Take care.